Hello again in part 2, how I build my CD welder, and we've been talking about this part of schematic, and we're talking about the SCR, and the SCR I'm using here is 100 amp and 1600 volt. So in order to operate this gate, then we need 3 volt, so you can use AA battery, and they put them on series, and they can give you 3 volts to operate this SCR. But what I did is, instead of using AA battery, I have a transformer, small transformer, and because I use a fan here, 12 volt fan, so that's why I use the second option, because if I don't have a fan, then I don't need to have all these parts. I just can connect this SCR to a AA battery, and that's it. But since I have a fan here, so I need a 12 volt to operate this fan. So what I have a small transformer that can give me 12 volt, and it's only less than 1 amp, and I just took the input, which is 220, and connected to the main input, and the output here 12 volt. I took it to a bridge rectifier and capacitor for voltering, and then I took these 12 volt part of it, I took it directly to the fan, and there's a switch here. I didn't draw it here, I forgot to draw. There is a switch here. When I need the fan to work, I just put it on and the fan will start working, and when I don't need it, I put the switch off. So this 12 volt came here to the fan, and the other way is I took it to a DC to DC converter, step down converter. But this one is they don't need you don't need to have a high power. You just need to have just smaller one, maybe 1 amp or less than 1 amp. That will be more than enough. So we took this input 12 volt, and we just regulate or adjust the output voltage to be 3 volts. So the minus terminal, we took it to the minus common here that came from this DC to DC converter that goes to the capacitor on the minus terminal of the capacitor. And the positive, we took it to the gate. But before we took it to the gate, I use a FootSwitch. I maybe show you these parts that I use in the next video, so you can be aware of what is the kind of the parts I'm using here. So for those who don't know what is the FootSwitch, so I use a FootSwitch here. So whenever I need to weld here, I just press on the FootSwitch, and that will close this circuit, and the signal will go to the power signal go to the SCR to open the gate, and the minus go from here to the roads and complete the circuit, and the discharge happens. So these are the parts that I'm using for my schematic. I mean, if you have a power supply, then you don't need to have all these parts from here. And if you don't want to use FootSwitch, you just and you don't want to use a fan here, then you can just use a AA battery, and it will be more easier and cheaper. And instead of using FootSwitch, you can just use a normal switch, 2 amp switch or 1 amp switch, normal trigger switch or whatever, push switch, and use it instead of FootSwitch here, and to make your CD welder cheaper. But if you don't have a power supply that supply you with 15.8 volt, then you need to have this part here, which is the transformer, and this is very cheap. You can salvage it from microwave, an old microwave, and you just remove the secondary winding and all the other things. There's also some small winding, the red one, you can remove it, and you can remove all the shunt, and you just leave the primary winding, and then you can wind a 12 gauge wire, an isolated wire with 20 to 30 turns, and then you just took it to the bridge rectifier, and you can measure how much is the output voltage, and then you took it to the, but this voltage should be not exceed more 30 volt, because this DC to DC converter is working from 1.3 to, I think it's to 30 volts. So the maximum input voltage should be not exceed 30 volt. So this is for the second part. The third part coming in a minute.